Good evening. Maybe not your usual Mardi Gras gathering, but it's very good to see all of you here this evening. My name is Gary Adler. I'm the Associate Director of Research here at the Institute for Advanced Catholic Studies at USC. Thank you for joining us for our latest installment of our speaker series with David Campbell this evening. The purpose of this series is to bring leading scholars into a public context to help us to understand the most important issues in religion and public life today. Our speaker tonight is co-sponsored with the USC Department of Political Science. I should mention that this series is generously supported by Elizabeth and Robert Plumley. Where are they at? It's a wave there. So if you could help me in thanking them for putting this. A couple of quick pieces of business. First off, cell phones. I know all of you have them. So please find the off button and make that adjustment. And then finally, when we do the Q&A this evening, you may have noticed already there's some other cameras here. We're having this recorded on C-SPAN. So they've asked when we do the Q&A, there will be somebody coming around with a mic to you. So if you've raised your hand and if our speaker has pointed to you to answer, if you could hold off till that mic gets there, otherwise the future viewers of this have no idea what the question was. So to tell you a little bit more about the Institute and the work we do, I'd like to invite Father Jim Heft up here. Father Jim.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening to you all. The Institute does more than simply run this first-rate lecture series. We also foster a good deal of research, and you could see those products at the door. What I wanted to mention simply about this evening is that for those of you who come from the Catholic Church, the Catholic background, it's very interesting, and I'm sure Professor Campbell will speak about the perhaps relationship between John F. Kennedy going for president and Mitt Romney going for president. But many of you may not recall that there was a president, a Democratic candidate for the 1928 presidential election, and that was Alfred Smith. The questions that Alfred faced, Kennedy faced, and a lot of Catholics don't realize why they faced those questions. In 1864, Pius IX published what was called a Syllabus of Errors. And among those statements that he condemned, one was the separation of church and state. Another was the freedom of the press. Another was freedom of conscience. Now, Catholics in this country were living the American dream as best they could. And when you come to Vatican II, the Catholic bishops really had a profound influence on two documents of the 16. One was on ecumenism, and the other was religious freedom. It wasn't until 1965 that on the highest level, the Vatican supported the separation of church and state and religious freedom. That it was understood 100 years before as state opposing the church or religious freedom to think whatever you wanted apart from the truth, those are things that had to be worked out over 100 years. Things move slowly in the Catholic Church. We trust they won't move as slowly for the Mormons, but we'll see what happens. So I'm very glad you're here. There's some fascinating stuff here to think about, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
To introduce our speaker this evening, it's always smart to bring in a local expert. This is a very local expert. Professor Allison Renteln, who is the chair of the Department of Political Science here at USC, has agreed to introduce our speaker. Professor Renteln.
Good evening. My name is Allison Dundies Renteln. I've been on the faculty here in political science since 1987, and it's my pleasure tonight to introduce our distinguished speaker. David Campbell is the John Cardinal O'Hara CSC Associate Professor of Political Science at the University of Notre Dame and the founding director of the Rooney Center for the Study of American Democracy. His bachelor's degree in political science is from Brigham Young University. He graduated magna cum laude and was the valedictory speaker there. His master's degree and PhD are both from Harvard University. He is a prolific scholar. He is the co-author with Robert Putnam of American Grace, How Religion Divides and Unites Us. He's the author of Why We Vote, How School and Communities Shape Our Civic Life. And he's the editor of A Matter of Faith, Religion in the 2004 Presidential Election. He has written and edited a number of books dealing with educational policy, topics such as school vouchers, charter schools, and civic engagement. And he's written many, many articles in the fields of religion and politics. His research has won awards from the Maine Association in Political Science, the American Political Science Association, and his research has been supported by major grants from the National Science Foundation, the National Academy of Education, and the Templeman Foundation. He is often sought after by the media to comment on various political events and issues, and is often quoted in the major news media such as the New York Times, C-SPAN, the Wall Street Journal, and so on. The title of his talk this afternoon, as you can see, Is This the Mormon Moment? Will Mitt Romney Be the Mormon's JFK? We're all very much looking forward to his remarks. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome to USC.